Hello everybody, it's Christina and welcome to my channel. This is a Booktube video. I did Booktube on this channel about a year and a half ago. It's been a while. I had been taking some time to focus on video games and some other things. I actually took a break from like YouTube in general for a while, but I don't know, I miss talking about books. Books have always just been such a huge part of my life. And even though I wasn't doing Booktube for the last year, I've still been reading like crazy. And I just kind of miss talking about it. Like I have a Discord channel and we talk about books there all the time, but it's kind of nice to just be able to actually physically talk about it. And I thought, why not start this back up again? So I'm back with some Booktube stuff. I thought I would kind of start things off with a TBR for what I plan to read in the month of May of 2019. So I guess I might as well start with that and let's go. So the first book I want to talk about is actually something that I started reading in April, but it's a big book and it takes a while. I'm actually reading it alongside a couple other things just because of how long it is. And that is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. You can see my little bookmark here. It's seen better days. I think I got it from an Owl Crate box, but yeah, I'm about, 400 pages? I think it's 400 pages. Yeah, I'm about 400 pages into this, and as you can see, 400 pages barely made a dent. I'm not even halfway through yet. So there's quite a ways to go. And this is the second book in the Stormlight Archive series by, again, Brandon Sanderson. I read The Way of Kings last month and I loved it. It took me a really long time to get through that one as well. Again, because I tend to read these longer books alongside other things. And I tend to need to be in the mood to read like high fantasy, like super in-depth world building books. I need to be in the right mindset for it. So I kind of take my time with this one, but I love it. I loved The Way of Kings. I think I gave it 4.5 or 5 stars on Goodreads. And I mean, there was really not much to say that was negative about that book. I really liked it. I'm really liking this one. I actually think I may even like it more than The Way of Kings. There's just a lot of things that are happening in this book. I don't want to say anything really because it is the second book in the series and I don't want to give any spoilers, but Brandon Sanderson, honestly, I don't think there's a book that I have read by him yet that I didn't like. I read through the Mistborn trilogy and I read Warbreaker already, and all of those got 5 stars from me. I think maybe one got 4, but anyway, they're all highly rated. There hasn't been a single book that he's written that I haven't liked. I'm sure I'm gonna love this. And then after this one, I'll probably start Oathbreaker, but that'll probably be next month or maybe the month after, depending on how long it takes me to get through this beast. The next book that I want to talk about is also a second book in a series, and it is A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. This is the second book in the Wayfarer. I keep wanting to say Wayfinder. I don't know why. But the Wayfarer series, which is a kind of like light-hearted, not taking itself too seriously sci-fi book. It is, I would say, high sci-fi, because, there's lots of ships and alien species, and it's just, the first book was great. The first book in this series is The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet. I actually just finished that one a couple days ago, and I got this one from my local library, and I'm going to be starting this soon. This is probably what I'm going to read alongside The Way of Kings because it's so different from not The Way of Kings. My brain is not working. Words of Radiance. It is going to be read alongside that only because it is a vastly different book and it is a little bit on the funnier side, a little bit more humorous. Now, I think that this is, part of that series, but I think each book focuses on somebody else or some other aspect of the universe. I don't think it's actually going to take place in the same locations as the other one. But I am definitely looking forward to reading this. I gave it the first book 4.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. I think I might have said that already, but mom brain. But anyway, yeah, really looking forward to reading this. Like I said, just got it from my library. I actually got the other one from my library too. I do try to get like 2 books a month, sometimes 3 for my library, because I do like to support the local libraries. As my channel name implies, I am a big fan of libraries. I'm not a librarian, but you know, I like books. I like to support the local stuff. So yeah, anyway, that is A Closed and Common Orbit, yes, by Becky Chambers. The next book, I think we kind of got a little bit of a thing going here, because a lot of the books, or several of the books that I am reading this month are all second books in a series or a duology or something like that. And this next one is no different. The first book, I just loved it. I think I read it in 2 days. And so I actually, when I saw this book in my library this morning, I was like, oh, yes, I get to read it now. So that book is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. Yes, okay. I always get a little confused as to whether it's V.E. Schwab or Victoria Schwab, and I think Victoria Schwab is her YA author name, and then this is what she uses when she writes adult. Sorry, it's super glary because of the library cover thing. But anyway, yeah, Vengeful. I read Vicious, oh gosh, it was a few months ago actually. I think it was right after Christmas or right before Christmas. I read Vicious. I read it in like 2 or 3 days. I absolutely loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I can't imagine giving it any less on Goodreads, but this is the second book. I think it's just a duology. I don't think there's going to be any more in this series. And I think it's about a different character. I would have to look into that. But yep, Vengeful. Oh my gosh, Christina. But anyway, I'm super looking forward to reading this book. I hope it's as good as the other one. I've heard really good things. So I will definitely be reading this probably again alongside Words of Radiance, because it is a vastly different kind of book. I tend to not want to read a lot of other high fantasy novels when I'm reading something like Brandon Sanderson's books. So this will probably be once I'm done with A Closed and Common Orbit. So the next book I want to talk about is probably the first one that's not a second book in a series, or even part of a series at all. I'm not actually sure if it's part of a series. I would have to look it up. This one I actually borrowed from my father-in-law. He got me into this author's books about 2 or 3 years ago, I would say, and I really like them. It's a little bit different for me. I tend to read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, but I do also love a good thriller/mystery, and that is what this one is. This is The Innocent by Harlan Coben. I've actually read a couple, like I said, I've read a couple of his books already. I think I've borrowed all of them from my father-in-law. I don't know much about this one. I just know that it's actually, when Harlan Coben writes, he tends to have one main character that kind of goes through each book, but you don't need to read them all in order. It's kind of like, I don't know, like if you're familiar with Dan Brown and like the Da Vinci Code, like you could have read Angels and Demons first, but you didn't have to. And anyway, it's kind of like that. You can read them all individually. You don't have to, read them all in order. This one is actually about a different character entirely, so I don't know where it falls into the world. But I am looking forward to reading it. And again, if I'm still reading Words of Radiance, this will be read alongside it. And since it's not a library book, I am not like super rushing to finish it, but I am going to definitely get to it by the end of May, I am sure. The next book that I want to talk about, I don't actually have a physical copy of, because it is actually what I'm listening to on Audible this month, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. It is another high sci-fi novel. It's actually a series called The Expanse, and there is a TV show about it. I think you can get it on Amazon. I watched the first season of it a while ago, and I liked it, but I tend to not want to watch the shows or the movies before I read the books. So I decided before I went to the next season, I would read Leviathan Wakes and maybe the others. I think there's like 3 or 4 in this series. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know it's another really good high sci-fi novel. I'm really enjoying the audiobook. It's probably going to take me about a month or 2 to get through. It's a longer audiobook, and I tend to only really listen to them like when I'm cleaning or cooking. So I mean, yeah, it could take a couple hours, to go through them, but it's gonna take me some time to get through that one. But it'll probably be on my TBR for a while. But I wanted to mention it because I did just recently start it, and I am looking forward to it. And finally, this book, I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it this month or not, but I wanted to mention it because I really just want to finish this series. I've been putting it on hold because I feel like my opinion of this series has changed quite a bit since I originally read the books. I guess it was a few years ago at this point. I really liked them at first, but after I thought about it a little bit and kind of, I don't know, I feel like my opinions changed a little bit because at the time I was a lot more lenient when it came to rating books. And now that I've, I guess, grown a little bit more as a reader, not grown, I'm an adult. I don't know how to words that. But anyway, I feel like my opinion has changed is what I'm getting at. The series that I am talking about is Throne of Glass, and it is by Sarah J. Maas. This is Tower of Dawn, which I think is the fifth? Is it the fifth book? Fifth? I have no idea. I think it's the fifth. There's a lot of them. I have them all over there somewhere. Do I? No, I don't. I think I got those from the library, actually. This is only part of my bookshelf. I actually have shelves over here, too, but I'm fairly certain I don't own any of these. I think I got them all from the library. But this one I actually got for Christmas this year, and I do want to read it. I don't know. I kind of have been putting it off because I'm scared that I'm going to read it and I'm not going to like it. Just because of how things have kind of changed for me with this series over the last few years. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to like it. I do still like her other series, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I like that one. It's not the best, but it's okay. I just finished reading The Court of Frost and Starlight around Christmas time, which was like the little like novella type thing. I like that one. It was a good like seasonal book, but we'll see. We will see how this goes. If I don't get to it this month, I am going to do it in June, but I'm scared. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to like it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. So that ends my May TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any books that you would like me to check out, I'm always willing to look into genres that I'm not necessarily familiar with. I do want to read a little bit more historical fiction. I do have, I think it's called All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. That's probably going to make it onto my June TBR. But I do, if you have any suggestions, it could be in the genres that I read, it could be outside of the genres that I read, feel free to leave a comment below, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!